Taking a moment to find a spot on the floor, we're going to start with a forearm shoulder stretch. You can get your ankles and your knees together. You'll sit your hips back to your heels. Your fingers can face in, and you're going to try and extend your elbows. You can shift side to side. You'll spend about 20 to 30 seconds in this stretch. We'll then move into 6 seated cat-cows. You'll go back into that position with the hips to the heels. You'll arch your low back as you bring the chest up, and then you'll open up the upper back by spreading the shoulders. You can face your hands forward, play around with your position with the hands on the floor. Slowly going through each position, pausing for a second before you rotate into that next rep. After your 6th rep, you'll open up your feet and your knees. Your hips will shoot back to your heels. You're trying to extend your arms straight. You'll pause for a second before shifting into a hip drop. Let the hips drop forward. Arms are straight on the ground. Slowly going through each rep, actively pushing the hips back to the heels, and then letting the hips really sink down, trying to hold the quads off the ground. If you're having trouble getting your hips back, think about opening up your knees and your ankles a little wider. After your 6th rep, we're going to go into 6 single leg hip rocks. One leg's extend straight out to the side. Make sure the hips are even so that back foot is nice and straight. You're going to push your hips back to your heels. If you can, bring the forearms to the ground. You'll pause for a second before shifting your weight back up onto that knee and then getting into that 2nd rep. Make sure the hips are going as straight back as you can, trying not to lean to one side. After 6 on one side, you'll switch to the other. On the leg that's extended, the toes face forward. Think about driving that inside of the leg to the floor as you push the hips back. When you rotate the weight forward, make sure your hips come all the way back before pushing the hips back to your heels. After your 6th rep, we'll move into a frog pose for 20 to 30 seconds. Your knees are nice and wide. You can check your position by seeing if the ankle, the shin, and the knee are a nice straight line. You'll keep the belly engaged by sucking the belly button in and drive your hips down. You should feel a nice stretch in the front of the hips, but actively engaging the core, squeezing your glutes as you push the hips down. We'll finish our hip flow with 6 hip lunges per leg. You'll drive that front heel down, pushing that front knee as far over the toes as you can while dropping that back hip. Pausing for a second before you reset at neutral. You can place your hands on the front knee and add a little bit of a stretch to more weight, driving forward, and try and make sure that back leg is straight behind you. I try to hit this once or twice a week as a great way to open up the hips, the low back, the hamstrings.